The Book of Enoch, a work shrouded in mystery and enigma, stands as one of the most fascinating texts to emerge from the ancient world. This ancient manuscript, often hidden in plain sight, is a window into the early spiritual and philosophical debates that have shaped our understanding of the divine and the human. It's not a book that simply tells a story, it's a journey through cosmic mysteries, moral struggles, and the very fabric of reality itself. If you're interested in this topic and want to learn more, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss out on future videos that will definitely surprise you. Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, is a figure from the Hebrew Bible who had the distinct honor of being taken to heaven without tasting death. But it's the book attributed to him, written in ancient times, that holds the true key to unlocking some of the most profound spiritual secrets known to humanity. And yet, this book has been largely ignored, even suppressed, by mainstream religious authorities for centuries. Why? The Book of Enoch was revered by many early Christian writers and thinkers, such as Saint Jerome, who believed that its content was filled with divine truth. But in time, the book was banned from the official canon of the Bible, its teachings suppressed and relegated to the realm of the forbidden. What was so controversial about this book? Was it simply the recounting of forgotten myths, or did it contain truths that threatened the very foundation of organized religion? The answer may lie in the cryptic visions and prophecies that unfold within its pages. The Book of Enoch presents a world where angels and humans coexist, where divine beings descend from heaven to impart forbidden knowledge upon mankind. It tells of the Watchers, a group of angels sent to observe humanity, who become enamored with the beauty of human women. They fall from grace and corrupt the earth by teaching humans arts and sciences, forbidden knowledge that leads to chaos and destruction. The consequence of this act is not just the fall of the angels, but the very corruption of the human race, giving birth to the Nephilim, giants who bring destruction and violence to the earth. The journey of the Book of Enoch begins with these Watchers, whose actions serve as both a warning and a reminder of the dangers of overstepping boundaries. As the narrative unfolds, it becomes clear that the consequences of their fall reverberate through time, affecting generations to come. The Book of Enoch reveals not only the actions of these celestial beings, but also the cosmic struggle between good and evil that has been taking place since the dawn of creation. While the Book of Enoch has been hidden from the masses for so long, its impact can still be felt in modern culture. From the pages of ancient scrolls to the realms of pop culture, its themes of forbidden knowledge, angels, and giants continue to captivate our imagination. The question remains, however, why was this book kept from the public eye for so long? What truths lie hidden within its pages that continue to spark curiosity and awe? Perhaps in understanding the secrets of the Book of Enoch, we are uncovering not just the story of fallen angels but the very nature of our own existence. Are we, too, in danger of overstepping boundaries? And what lessons can we learn from the past to ensure a better future? As we embark on this journey through time and space, the answers to these questions may be far more profound than we can imagine. The Book of Enoch, though ancient, is still incredibly relevant today. Its themes transcend time, offering lessons that remain pertinent in an age where knowledge is both revered and feared. As we delve deeper into the story of the Watchers and their fall, we are reminded that the pursuit of knowledge is not without consequences. Yet, it is also through this pursuit that we come to understand the world around us and, ultimately, our place in the cosmos. And so, the story of the Book of Enoch is not merely a tale of angels and giants. It is a reflection of the eternal human quest for knowledge, understanding, and redemption. It challenges us to confront the shadows of our own history, the mistakes of our ancestors, and the potential for greatness that lies within us all. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the Book of Enoch, let us remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. In the ancient world, angels were often seen as messengers of the divine, beings of light and wisdom sent to guide humanity. But in the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, angels who descended to earth, are not just heavenly emissaries. They are the very embodiment of the tension between the sacred and the profane. Their story is one of forbidden desire, rebellion, and the consequences of crossing divine boundaries. The Watchers were originally sent to earth with a singular mission: to observe humanity. But what began as a divine task soon became a journey that led these celestial beings down a darker path. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers as sons of God, sent to guide and protect mankind. They were tasked with teaching humans about the arts of civilization, how to harvest the earth, how to read the stars, how to master the elements. In essence, they were to be the wise teachers, guiding humanity toward enlightenment. But as the Watchers gazed upon the beauty of humankind, something began to stir within them. They were not just observers, they were beings of immense power, who were capable of feeling emotions and desires, just as humans did. It was in this vulnerability that their downfall began. The Book of Enoch describes how the Watchers, overwhelmed by their emotions, made a fateful decision to break the divine command and take human wives. This act of defiance is where their fall from grace began. These angels, beings who had once existed in the presence of the Creator, began to fall in love with the daughters of men. Their hearts became consumed with longing, and in an act that would forever change the course of history, the Watchers descended upon the earth to unite with these women. In doing so, they introduced a forbidden union, one that blurred the line between the divine and the human. The consequences of this act were devastating. The offspring of the Watchers and human women, known as the Nephilim, were giants, beings of immense strength and power. They were not like humans, but neither were they fully angelic. The Nephilim were creatures of two worlds, possessing a physical presence that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. They were said to be violent, driven by a destructive hunger for power. Their very existence was a perversion of the natural order, a manifestation of the chaos that followed the Watchers' disobedience. As the Nephilim roamed the earth, their impact was felt far and wide. The Book of Enoch tells of how they brought violence and corruption to the world. They devoured the resources of the earth and ravaged the human population. The Nephilim were the cause of great suffering, and their very presence seemed to signal the unraveling of the world. The earth, once a place of harmony, became a battleground where violence and despair reigned. It was the Watchers' original sin, their act of desiring and taking human wives, that set these events in motion. And yet, despite the chaos they had caused, the Watchers did not face immediate retribution. Instead, they were left to ponder the consequences of their actions, which led them to ask, could they be redeemed? Could they find forgiveness for the harm they had caused? As the story of the Watchers unfolds, we see a pattern emerge. These beings, once pure and elevated, fell from grace because of their inability to maintain control over their desires. They were seduced not just by the beauty of the human form, but by the possibility of power and knowledge that came with crossing boundaries. The lesson here is clear: the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, unchecked desires, and the temptation to defy divine will comes with a cost. It is a warning not just for the Watchers, but for all of humanity. What makes the story of the Watchers so compelling is not just the divine punishment they receive, but the moral complexity of their fall. These angels were not inherently evil. They were beings of light, sent with a purpose. And yet, in the face of temptation, they succumbed to their desires and broke the divine order. In doing so, they became the architects of their own destruction. The Watchers remind us that even the most exalted beings are not immune to temptation, and that the choices we make, no matter how small, can have far-reaching consequences. The fall of the Watchers is not just a story about angels. It is a story about us, the choices we make, the desires we pursue, and the consequences of stepping outside the boundaries that have been set for us. The Watcher's story is a timeless reminder that the path to knowledge and power is not always one that leads to enlightenment. Sometimes, it leads to chaos and ruin. The Watchers, like us, are not perfect. They too are part of a greater narrative that asks, can we rise above our flaws, or will we succumb to the temptations that lie before us? The Watchers, in their descent from heaven to earth, brought more than just chaos and destruction. They brought forbidden knowledge, a gift that would forever change the course of human history. These angels, once pure and divine, defied the boundaries set by the Creator, and in doing so, they introduced humanity to the dark arts, to secrets that were never meant to be known by mortals. In the Book of Enoch, the knowledge brought by the Watchers is not just a simple exchange of wisdom, it is the very key to understanding the transformation of humanity. The Watchers, driven by their desires and their longing to connect with the human experience, shared with mankind the hidden arts and sciences of the heavens. What were these secrets, and why were they so dangerous? One of the most profound gifts given by the Watchers was the knowledge of metallurgy, how to forge weapons, how to extract precious metals from the earth, and how to create tools that could shape the world. This knowledge of metalworking gave rise to weapons of war, tools of power that could be used to conquer, to destroy, and to dominate. The very act of forging metal became a symbol of the ability to wield power over nature, a skill that, in the hands of the wrong people, could lead to unimaginable violence. But the knowledge of the Watchers didn't stop at metallurgy. They also imparted to humanity the secrets of astrology, the study of the stars and the heavens. Through the Watchers' teachings, humans learned to map the skies, to predict the movements of celestial bodies, and to understand the deep connection between the heavens and the earth. For some, this knowledge was seen as a way to gain insight into the divine will, but for others, it became a tool for manipulating the world around them. The Watchers had unlocked a hidden world, one that lay beyond the reach of ordinary humans, and in doing so, they had opened a door to a reality that few could comprehend. Perhaps the most dangerous of all the knowledge the Watchers brought to mankind was the knowledge of sorcery and enchantments. The Book of Enoch reveals that the angels taught humans the art of magic, the ability to harness the forces of nature, to bend them to one's will. This knowledge was not simply about casting spells. It was about understanding the underlying forces of creation and how they could be manipulated. Through the use of magic, humans could control the elements, command the spirits, and alter the very fabric of reality itself. But this was not a benign gift. The knowledge of sorcery came with a heavy price. Those who practiced the dark arts became consumed by their power, losing their humanity in the process. They were no longer servants of the divine, but masters of the forbidden, seeking to control the very forces that governed existence. And as the power of sorcery spread, so too did the corruption it brought. The world became a place where the boundaries between the sacred and the profane were no longer clear. The pursuit of power through forbidden knowledge led to a spiral of destruction that affected both the heavens and the earth. The question that the Book of Enoch raises is this: why did the Watchers feel compelled to share these secrets with humanity? Was it an act of kindness, a desire to elevate mankind to their level? Or was it something darker, a decision to lead humanity astray, to introduce them to powers they were never meant to possess? The Watchers' motivations are complex and multifaceted. Some may have been driven by the desire to be closer to humans, to share in their experiences, to offer them the same wisdom that the angels themselves possessed. Others may have simply been curious, eager to see what would happen if they imparted these hidden arts to mankind. But whatever their reasons, the consequences were devastating. The knowledge the Watchers imparted was not meant for humanity. It was knowledge that belonged to the divine realm, and by bringing it to earth, the Watchers set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history. This forbidden knowledge became the root of mankind's greatest trials, their deepest struggles, and their most profound mistakes. As the Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers and human women, spread across the earth, they carried with them the gifts of their angelic parents. These giants, with their immense strength and power, used the knowledge of the Watchers to conquer, to build great cities, and to wield weapons of destruction. The very fabric of humanity was torn asunder by the knowledge of the Watchers, and the world was plunged into chaos. But the story of the Watchers and the forbidden knowledge they brought is not just a tale of destruction. It is also a story of redemption, of the possibility that even in the darkest of times, humanity can rise above its mistakes. The Book of Enoch invites us to reflect on the nature of knowledge itself, how it can be both a blessing and a curse, how it can elevate us to great heights or bring us to the brink of annihilation. The Watchers, though they fell from grace, left behind a legacy of wisdom and power that continues to shape the world to this day. The knowledge they shared with humanity is not simply a relic of the past. It is a living force, a reminder of the eternal tension between light and darkness, between creation and destruction. And as we look to the future, we must ask ourselves, what will we do with the knowledge we possess? Will we use it for good, to uplift humanity and protect the earth? Or will we, like the Watchers before us, succumb to the temptation of forbidden power and risk bringing about our own downfall? The offspring of the Watchers and human women, the Nephilim, were not mere mortals. They were giants, beings of immense strength, power, and size. But their presence on Earth was more than just a physical anomaly. It was a symbol of the corruption that followed the union of the divine and the human. In the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim are portrayed as powerful, almost godlike beings, whose very existence disrupted the natural order of the world. The Nephilim were not like the humans they were born from. Their size alone was enough to inspire awe and fear. The Book of Enoch describes them as giants, towering above the people of the earth, possessing strength and abilities far beyond that of ordinary men. But their physical might was not the only thing that made them so terrifying. The Nephilim were also said to be deeply violent and aggressive, their actions bringing chaos and destruction wherever they went. Their presence in the world was not a peaceful one. The Nephilim, with their vast power, began to assert dominance over the human race. They were not just passive observers, they were active participants in the corruption of the world. They took what they wanted without regard for the consequences, and their actions had a profound impact on the earth. According to the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim devoured the resources of the planet, using their power to consume the food and wealth of humanity. They were not just giants in stature, they were giants in greed and excess. As their numbers grew, so did the chaos they caused. The Nephilim became a scourge upon the earth, spreading violence and destruction wherever they went. They waged wars, fought amongst themselves, and terrorized the human population. Their violent tendencies were matched only by their insatiable hunger for power. The world, once a place of balance, became a battleground where the Nephilim reigned supreme, and the human race was left to struggle for survival. The Nephilim's presence was not just a physical threat, it was also a spiritual one. They were the product of the forbidden union between angels and humans, a union that had violated the natural order of creation. The Book of Enoch describes how the Nephilim were not merely a physical presence, but also a symbol of the corruption that had entered the world. Their very existence represented a breach of divine law, a distortion of the sacred relationship between heaven and earth. In the story of the Nephilim, we see the consequences of the Watchers' actions play out in a devastating way. The angels, in their desire to be closer to humanity, had created beings who were both more powerful and more destructive than any human could imagine. The Nephilim, born of forbidden knowledge and the union of two worlds, were the living embodiment of the chaos that followed the Watchers' fall from grace. But the story of the Nephilim is not just one of destruction. It is also a story of redemption, a reminder that even in the face of great evil, there is the potential for change. In the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim are eventually wiped from the earth in the Great Flood, a divine act of cleansing and renewal. Their destruction serves as a symbol of the possibility of redemption, of the opportunity to start anew and restore the natural balance of the world. The flood, which was sent to purge the earth of the Nephilim and the corruption they brought, was not just a physical event, it was a spiritual one. It marked the end of an era, a time when the world had fallen into chaos and sin. The flood was a way for humanity to begin again, to rebuild from the ashes of the past and create a new world free from the influence of the Nephilim. But even after the flood, the legacy of the Nephilim lived on. The story of these giants, their rise to power, and their eventual downfall, continues to resonate throughout history. Their tale is a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the consequences of defying the natural order. It is also a warning: the temptation to mix the divine and the human, to seek forbidden knowledge, can lead to catastrophic results. The Nephilim are not just a myth, they are a part of our collective consciousness, a symbol of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, creation and destruction. Their story teaches us that power, when abused, can corrupt even the greatest of beings. It is a story that calls us to examine our own actions and consider the consequences of our choices. Are we, like the Watchers, tempted to step beyond our boundaries? And if we do, will we face the same fate as the Nephilim? As we reflect on the legacy of the Nephilim, we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice for power? What lines are we willing to cross in our pursuit of knowledge? The Nephilim were giants, yes, but their true power came from the choices they made. They were not just products of their time, they were a reflection of the choices that all of us must face. The legacy of the fallen Watchers and their Nephilim offspring is not confined to the ancient world. Their influence, while once thought to be a distant myth, reverberates through time, echoing in the corridors of history and shaping the way we understand both the divine and the human. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim is not merely a tale from an ancient text, it is a living, breathing part of our collective memory, influencing cultures, philosophies, and religions throughout the ages. From the earliest civilizations to modern times, the story of the fallen angels has been a subject of fascination and fear. Ancient cultures, from the Sumerians to the Hebrews, carried within their mythologies the seeds of the Watchers' tale. In these cultures, there are echoes of the Watchers' descent from the heavens, their interactions with humanity, and their eventual punishment. The Nephilim, those giants of old, became a symbol of both the potential for greatness and the consequences of unchecked power. In the Christian tradition, the story of the Watchers and the Nephilim was suppressed, their narrative silenced by the official canon of Scripture. But the influence of their story never truly disappeared. The Book of Enoch, despite being excluded from the Bible, continued to captivate the imaginations of early Christians and later, scholars and mystics. The themes of forbidden knowledge, angels defying divine authority, and the consequences of hubris resonated deeply within the human psyche. Even in the face of suppression, the story of the fallen angels lived on in the teachings of Gnosticism, in the apocryphal writings, and in the legends that were passed down through generations. The legacy of the Nephilim, too, found its way into cultures across the world. In ancient mythology, the idea of giants, beings of great power who once roamed the earth, is a recurring motif. Whether in Greek mythology with the Titans, in Norse legends with the Jotnar, giants, or in Native American stories of giant beings, the archetype of the giant who walks among us is deeply ingrained in the collective imagination. These giants, like the Nephilim, were beings who transcended the boundaries of humanity, existing in a realm between the divine and the mortal. But the legacy of the fallen is not limited to ancient mythologies and scriptures. In modern times, the influence of the Watchers and the Nephilim can still be seen in literature, art, and popular culture. From books to movies, the theme of fallen angels and their offspring, beings of immense power, has captivated audiences around the world. Stories of angels who rebel against divine authority, who fall from grace and mingle with humans, are a common thread in modern storytelling. Whether it's through the tragic tale of Lucifer's rebellion in Christian theology or the reinterpretations of the Nephilim in fantasy and horror genres, the legacy of the fallen continues to shape how we view the world. In many ways, the story of the Watchers and the Nephilim serves as a cautionary tale, warning us of the dangers of overstepping our boundaries. The Watchers, in their desire to be closer to humanity, made a choice that led to their downfall. The Nephilim, born of this union, became creatures of destruction and chaos. Their legacy reminds us that the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and power can have dire consequences. The story of the fallen angels and their offspring calls us to examine our own relationship with power, knowledge, and the divine. In the modern world, we continue to wrestle with the same questions that the ancient cultures grappled with. Are we, too, in danger of overstepping our boundaries? As technology advances and our understanding of the world grows, we are confronted with the temptation to push beyond the limits of what is considered acceptable. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim serves as a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge, when driven by selfishness or greed, can lead to destruction. But the legacy of the fallen is not only one of warning. It is also a story of redemption, a call to rise above our flaws and mistakes. The flood that wiped out the Nephilim and the corruption they brought was not just an act of divine wrath. It was an opportunity for renewal, a chance to start anew. In the same way, the story of the Watchers and the Nephilim offers us the opportunity to reflect on our own lives and the choices we make. Can we learn from the past and create a future that is guided by wisdom, compassion, and humility? The legacy of the fallen angels is a legacy that continues to shape our understanding of the world. It reminds us of the dangers of unchecked ambition, the consequences of defying divine order, and the potential for redemption that lies within us all. As we continue to navigate the complexities of the modern world, the lessons of the Watchers and the Nephilim are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. Their story challenges us to confront our own desires for power and knowledge, to question the choices we make, and to consider the consequences of those choices. The legacy of the fallen is a timeless reminder that the pursuit of wisdom must be tempered with humility, that the desire for power must be balanced with responsibility, and that the consequences of our actions are far-reaching and profound. The story of the Watchers and their Nephilim offspring is not just one of fall and destruction, it is also one of redemption, a path through the darkness toward light. In the midst of the chaos they created, there remains the possibility of renewal, of cleansing, and of redemption, a theme that runs through the Book of Enoch and resonates with the human experience to this day. The fall of the Watchers was not a random act. It was the result of choices driven by temptation, desire, and the allure of forbidden knowledge. These angels, who had once been pure, crossed a boundary they were never meant to cross. Their union with human women and the resulting birth of the Nephilim set in motion a chain of events that brought corruption and violence to the earth. Yet, as we reflect on their story, we realize that their fall does not define them solely by their mistakes. In fact, their mistakes became the backdrop for the possibility of redemption, of returning to a higher state and seeking forgiveness. The first step on the path to redemption is recognizing the wrong that was done. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are made to acknowledge the consequences of their actions. They are held accountable for the suffering they caused, for the chaos they unleashed upon the earth. But this recognition of guilt is not the end of the story, it is the beginning. It is through this acknowledgement that the Watchers are given the chance to reflect and repent, to seek a path back to grace. The idea of repentance is central to many spiritual and religious traditions, and it is a theme that runs through the narrative of the Watchers. Despite their great fall, the Watchers are not abandoned completely. They are given the opportunity to recognize the harm they have caused and to seek forgiveness. It is a lesson for all of us. Redemption is possible, even for those who have made the gravest of mistakes. No act is so irredeemable that it cannot be reconciled, provided we are willing to face our faults and work toward righting them. The flood that destroyed the Nephilim and cleansed the earth is not just a symbol of divine wrath, it is also a symbol of the cleansing power of renewal. In many ways, the flood serves as a metaphor for the process of redemption itself. Just as the flood washed away the corruption that the Nephilim brought to the earth, so too can we cleanse ourselves of the stains of our own mistakes. The flood did not end humanity, it gave it a second chance. It allowed for a new beginning, where the past could be acknowledged and left behind, and a new, purer future could be forged. The path of redemption is not always easy. It requires self-awareness, humility, and a willingness to change. It is a journey that demands us to look inward and confront the darkest parts of ourselves, the parts that may have been influenced by pride, greed, or selfishness. The Watcher's story is a reminder that even the most exalted beings can fall, but they can also rise again. And it is through this process of rising, of confronting our flaws, and striving to do better, that we find true redemption. For humanity, the lesson is clear: the choices we make matter. The pursuit of forbidden knowledge and the desire for power can lead to destruction, just as it did for the Watchers and the Nephilim. But it is not too late to change. Redemption is always within reach, and it is through our choices that we can either perpetuate the cycle of destruction or break free from it. As we look at the story of the Watchers, we are reminded of our own responsibility. Just as the Watchers were given a second chance, so too are we. But to receive this opportunity, we must be willing to make the difficult choice to recognize our errors, to seek forgiveness, and to strive for a higher purpose. It is not enough to simply acknowledge our mistakes, we must act upon them. We must strive to heal the wounds we have caused, to restore balance where there has been discord, and to seek peace where there has been chaos. In many ways, the path of redemption is a universal journey that all of us must undertake. It is not just about the Watchers or the Nephilim, it is about the choices we make every day. Will we choose the path of selfishness and destruction, or will we choose the path of healing and growth? The Watchers' fall was not their final destination. It was a moment of reflection, of learning, and of choosing to rise again. We too must choose to rise, to overcome our mistakes, and to strive for a better future. The Book of Enoch offers us more than just the story of fallen angels and giants. It offers us the possibility of redemption, of renewal, and of hope. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there is always the chance to change, to grow, and to start anew. The path of redemption is open to us all, and it is through our willingness to walk it that we can overcome the mistakes of the past and create a better future for ourselves and for the world.